to the agenda at this time? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
Second.
Thank you. Do I have
To
a
the
motion
agenda,
at this time? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the February 26th, 2025 meeting minutes, the current pending to the agenda gift report, and the current statistical report? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the February 26th, 2025 meeting minutes, the current pending to the agenda? Anyone from the public who wishes to be heard? All right. Seeing nobody, we will get started. Clay, are you ready to tell us about the Friends?
Oh, I am, yes. Just before, apologize for not being able to be here this afternoon, but she had a work conflict, as we sometimes do. But she passed along a few notes, including they're ramping up for their spring book sale, which is May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. They'll keep the same hours as they have in the past. The only thing is, I've mentioned previously, this will be it's usually in April, and they bumped it forward to May for altogether strategic reasons. So we'll see how that goes as the inaugural May sale. They're also working to find a Richmond author to give a talk during their annual meeting in the fall. And they're organizing their volunteer list right now, and their next meeting is scheduled for the first week of April. So if they stay on schedule, it'll be April 2nd, and that's all I have.
Great, thank you. I don't see Susan. Do we have a report from Susan?
Yeah, she's on a call with the Mellon Foundation. She and Ben are on a call with a check-in with them, but she has provided me a report to give. At the March Foundation board meeting, they welcomed 4 new members. One of them is Tori Phyllis. She is a representative. She works for Virginia Credit Union. Dominic McKenzie with the Vector Corporation. She formerly was on the chief of staff for the 9th district, so she was that liaison. Ashley Payne, she is a marketing person with the Country Club of Virginia. And Dion Wright works with Dominion Energy. So those are 4 new members to add to the foundation, so that will help us make greater connections into the community. If you happen to run across a foundation member, those are the new ones. And that was really all of her report. Again, she's doing an update. We have our first report to the Mellon Foundation. We're just doing a check-in with them, making sure we have all of the things correct in the report as they want to see. So more communication is always good when you have a new funder.
Always good. Okay, library administration, Scott.
All right. I would like to point out that we are looking really good with our numbers this year. If you have an opportunity, we have surpassed 2022 circulation, and I believe we're on our way to eclipsing 2024 circulation. So that is pretty significant because shows just how adding hours, adding people, adding program, getting the book budget up is paying off. I want to bring to your attention National Library Week will be April 6th to 12th. The theme is drawn to the library. So we have lots of events scheduled, story times. Ripple will be visiting all of the different story times. Monday, April 7th, we'll do a Right to Read Day, which is a day for readers and advocates and book lovers to advocate for the library and defend, and that's when ALA will kick off the week. Tuesday is National Library Workers Day, so we are going to make sure we thank and value our library staff who make it happen every day. And then Wednesday is April 9th is National Library Outreach Day, so celebrate all the outreach things. Maybe someday we'll get a mobile library and we can decorate that and go out. But we do a lot of other things. I mean, you're aware we do the pop-ups. We I mean, Library Card Sign Up Week, we had so many events that really put us over the top when it came to signing up people for library cards. So National Library Week, and then in your program, we have the budget schedule, the calendar for when council will review the budget. Tomorrow is the day that Mayor Avula will put forth his budget. There will be a 3:00 council meeting, a special council meeting that will be broadcast, so you can catch that on electronically broadcast, and then we'll know more after that. So other than that, I think those are the really big things to highlight in my report. Are there any questions?
So the programs number, is that on track with the programs that we've done in 24, 20, in past years? I think it was just a total number, not a comparison.
Right, so on page...
And it had the number of people and the...
Yeah, so there's two numbers. There's total attendance, and then there's total number of programs.
Right.
So if you
But
look,
it wasn't comparable to past years.
24 is in the next column. So you can compare to the previous year.
Okay, so
It's
we're
just-
doing good.
It's just a little bit different than the
Oh,
other
the
ones
format's
because it's
different.
not on the bottom.
Okay.
So if you look to the
I
right.
looked at it on my phone, and my phone only goes so far.
Right.
So.
So 24, we had 23,192. This year we have 28,550. So we're ahead by almost 5,000.
So, yeah, we're really
Programs are
cranking.
doing well.
We're really cranking. Yeah.
Circulation is doing well. I think if you look at,
Door count looks good. Yeah.
yep.
Well, there's Hall Street door count. What's going on there?
Which one are you referring to Hall Street this year?
Yeah.
Like 939 versus 1834?
Yeah.
That could be just an anomaly with the counter. Sometimes we have counters that lose numbers, so maybe this month we lost numbers.
It's just
So-
such a drastic drop.
Yeah. We'll look into that, but so we're still on track to eclipse
Yeah.
23 and 24. So
Looking good. Looking good. Hey, thank you. Any questions? Any other questions to Scott? Nope.
Oh, I see the room requests are on here. Is this the first time we're getting them? Because I know we talked about it.
no, John put those on starting in January, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in January we were able to add those, and we've been tracking that since then.
Okay, on to advocacy. So Sharon and I want to talk about two things when it relates to advocacy. First, at the federal level, the cuts to IMLS, which is the principal funder of state libraries, and then to us. Although it's possible to get a direct grant, we don't have any. We usually are a tunnel through. That's the first thing we're going to chat about. And then the second thing is going to be our philosophy going into budget season. IMLS. I have gotten many ALA, United for Libraries, Virginia Library Association, emails and explanations as to what's at stake. It doesn't seem to me, and I am wrong regularly, so watch me and correct me. It doesn't seem to me they want an institutional response. Instead, they are asking members and library carers to call or email their congressman or their senator. I believe, again, I'm often wrong, so tell me when I am, that this is a completely voluntary by the trustees, by individual to individual, if you're interested in doing that. Now, do you all get the ALA stuff? Does everyone get that? Okay, because what I can do is I can do a quick summary and ask Jonna to send it out, but I don't think, unless you tell me differently, that it's a Board of Trustees write an official letter situation. I think it is, if this is in the list of things you care about, please take the action. If it isn't, no harm, no foul.
Chris, one thing I might say, I think you're exactly right on that. But if you're sending out a little info on it, an idea of what you might be sending would be a good thing. But differing from, I mean, as opposed to the way we've handled it with city council members, where we sent out very controlled.
Right.
I think we don't want things going that look like they were sent from the same organization. So we want to take what you send us and really personalize it, change it. Don't just, put your name at the bottom of what Chris sent. But I think it would be helpful to you, for us, if you send something else.
I'll just pull from the advice that the professionals have developed. And I'm a short but sweet, because I just think you want your name checked with a good story, and be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone want to say anything about that situation? We okay there? Okay. Let's go to the second issue, which is much closer to my heart, and that's the Richmond City budget for the library. We now know it will come out tomorrow. So I have not drafted an advocacy email for all of you, as I said I would, because I wanted to address the budget situation. I have three things I want to mention. And again, I want to hear from you, because I get things wrong, and I don't hear the nuances. This is the first time this administration has put out a budget. I would like us to be team players with the administration. I would like us, to the extent we can, to be cooperative and supportive, and hopefully deepen our relationship with them for this first round. I am completely a believer in momentum, and we at this library system have momentum. Scott just talked about it. Every number that we think is important is going up. I do not want any budget cuts, if we can avoid it, that will stop our momentum. We've worked really hard. Summer reading up 52%, new library cards up 123%, programs, all of our numbers are going in the right direction. So I'm going to challenge us. Fortunately, Scott knows every number inside and out, to try and figure out a way to deal with whatever the city asks us to do with the team spirit. But momentum is serving Richmond residents is the most important thing in the world to me. We're going in a direction I don't want to see stopped. So I have challenged and will challenge everyone, and Sharon might well be right with me on this one, that we will be looking for one-time temporary cuts. Not forever cuts, one-time temporary cuts, and one-time temporary add-ins from the foundation and from the Friends. So I've asked Scott to come up with line items, children's books, overdrive. There will be some foundations who will make available crisis funding. It's not permanent funding, it's crisis funding. We want to be ready with specific asks to go after that. So those are my three premises. I would love input from you on are you comfortable with going in that direction for this budget round? Because I'm happy to change so that we all need to speak with the same voice. And whatever that voice is, it has to be the voice the library system is speaking with. And if we're lucky, the foundation and the friends believe it too, so that we're all on the same page. We're up first. So tell me what you think.
Just so I'm clear, we don't know the budget yet, but do you anticipate that there would be cuts? to
I
the
anticipate
library? Okay,
cuts.
that's-
I don't know that they'll be bad or easy cuts, but we've been told the next 2 years
So then,
to expect
so
cuts.
you're saying then the argument we try to make, or the proposition is that these cuts should be temporary.
Exactly.
We will play along.
Exactly. We're going to be
temporary,
good team.
And we're gonna pull other resources in.
Everyone listen to
Okay.
Emily. She said it much better
Just
than
to
I did.
recap, just-
Yeah,
no.
yeah. So that's what I'm suggesting.
I would also suggest we put in future goals or plans. I still, I'm always pushing for these satellite units, in the communities that are underserved, up Jeff Davis Highway, Scott's Addition, other places like that. So we would need money to maintain, and I think we need to kind of say we're planning to get out in the community, so they will anticipate money for that.
And that's one of the strengths, if we can do it, which we may not be able to do, but if we can do a temporary approach, we can say, we're your team players for the 2 years you need us, or the year you need us to be a team player. But we've got momentum, and we're gonna drive hard to serve communities that currently don't have.
Yes.
Chris and I talked about this a little bit after I think I shocked Chris and Scott with a draft email that I put together, sort of following the approach we've taken with prior budget cuts,
Right.
which was heavy. Let's really tell the council members, et cetera, how this affects us, and that we really have to have the money. So I'd written as a draft, just as that to consider for today, a different approach. I think Chris is on the right track. I'm not disagreeing with her at all, but I wanted to add a couple of things to what Chris
Yeah,
said.
please do, yeah.
One thing is the team approach. I think is absolutely critical. Okay, I really believe that, and we've had that. We've really got the council members behind us, but they are in a spot where, as much as they're behind us, they don't have the money.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay. This year, they're being held because of other changes in the way the real estate assessments are going to be frozen and so on. That even if they want to give us the money, they probably can't. So there's no point in upsetting somebody, making them, getting on the wrong side.
That's
of
a
them
good,
with
yeah.
that. So we have to look at it and say, so what can we accomplish? I think Chris is absolutely right that we need to minimize the impact in the community. And having gone through the budget pretty carefully, it's hard to do. I mean, to be honest.
I know.
As y'all look at things, but it's going to be difficult, which is why Chris fortunately said, let's look to the foundation and friends to help a little bit. Chris has suggested something, and I agree with it completely, which is that we try everything we can to not lose hours at this point. Because the other approach to that, if we thought there was money that could be moved from one bucket to ours, the approach would be, hey, if you don't give us this, we can't do Sunday hours at some of these branches, or we need to close one of the branches for a year until money comes back. There's some reasonable approaches actually to deal with that, but they all affect access. They all affect how well we serve the citizens. So we don't want to do that, even though that actually has the benefit of reminding people of our value and that, So I think we need to sort of do a little bit of both. We need to be team players, but as we're team players, and I think Chris and her team on advocacy will work on getting out information as to, here's how we're going to cope with this. Here's what it's doing to us, and here's why it can't continue. As an example of that, if we get money from our foundation and from friends to cover this, they can't do that every year. We cannot have that money be seen as operating expenses.
Which is why Emily nailed it. Temporary one
It's
time.
temporary, it's crisis funding, as you put it very accurately. It may let us go to some other nonprofit groups to give us some funding there. But the city needs to understand that the only way we're keeping this open is with temporary funding. That we don't have those sources, so that when we get into the fiscal 27 or 27?
27.
Okay, there'll be, okay, in fiscal 27, that we need to get it not just restored, we need to get it up, because we're covering things from places we shouldn't.
And Sharon's comment will lay the
Yes.
groundwork for
I think that
yeah.
that very much does. And just as far as, and look at the budget. Scott is going to be working on things. I'm going to sit down with him to talk about where we can get cuts once we know how much. And we don't know now. I mean, this could be 2%, 5, 10. We don't know.
They may sit there and say, they're so small. Cutting them doesn't help at all. We don't know.
Right.
It's important to begin thinking about it, to have some premises or foundational ideas that are important to us.
Right.
But this may not even be a problem.
Right.
I doubt it.
I doubt it.
But this may not even be a problem. Yeah.
And really, when you look at our budget, you'll see that the bulk of our budget is staff.
Yeah.
And staff equates to hours, it equates to programs, everything out there. The next biggest controllable expense we have is collections, which once again is what do the citizens get? You know, if we have to drop hoopla, if we have to buy less, if we have to shut down overdrive, whatever,
Right.
Any of those affect what we're doing.
Right.
So that's why we're looking at outside funding for it. Other things, we can cut a little bit here, a little bit here, there, maybe. Biggest other thing you will see, so just as y'all are looking for it, is security. And we can't do much about that unless we're able to convince the city, reduce our budget because we'll take, reduce security, but we need a little more help from RPD or something. I don't know. But anyway, as you look at it, recognize that we're open to any ideas, okay? Any, no matter how small, because right now it looks like the bulk of what we have to cut, however much it is, probably comes from people, which means branches may have to run with 3 sometimes instead of 4, which is really not safe. It's not ideal. It's safety-wise, and it's also not great for what we can do as far as programs and things.
Yeah.
But we can't just say, "Oh, we'll cut out a program," because that doesn't cut the staff. So I mean, even when they say, "Oh, well, why don't you do this or that?" Think about it and think about how they affect. When we have 4 people in the branch, we're able to do the programs that we're doing now. If we get the programs out, we still need to have 4 people in the branch to keep it open. So we're really stuck. And then the final thing I'll mention is that we are really hoping that this doesn't affect summer programs at all. And Chris has done a just phenomenal job, she and Susan, of lining up the outside funding for those interns and things. So I think we continue to show really strong work with that preschool population that is really helping the education level in the city. So that we shouldn't be dealing with a problem. Okay. Anyway, that was sort of the finance report, by the way.
Oh, I just had a question about the kind of temporary idea. Is that a formal mechanism so that it would kind of default to something in the future, or is it just you're asking the mayor to remember us in 2 years and remember that we were easy to work with? And
So I would tell you it's a communication strategy. Because Scott correctly explained that the minute you cut something, they think you can live without it. You have to say 5 million times to any fool who'll sit next to you, temporary one time. So
reminding them, letting them know we are covering this with the
right,
foundation,
because we're
so
team
that-
players.
Yeah, so that
We're
yeah,
team
okay.
players.
Right.
I mean, and I
The
mean,
citizens,
I
yeah.
really want us to be team players. I want us to do everything we can to have this administration or any administration be successful. But I don't want to ruin our momentum. So,
And part of the team is, the whole reason for the city administration is to serve the needs of the citizens.
right.
We are one of those serving a big need.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I believe that to be absolutely true. So, So it's gonna be a hard job. We'll know on Thursday or Friday how hard it's going to be. This is important. Any other comments? If it goes badly, we'll change our mind and do something else. But I want us to have a starting point that resonates with everyone. So we okay?
Yeah.
All right. If it's an easy problem, I will send you a draft email to go out to council next week. It will reiterate these issues. If it's a hard problem, I will wait for Bill and Scott to give Sharon and I more information, and we'll just think harder, and it will take longer to come up with what we have to say. But if it's easy, we're good to go. The trustees are all of one mind.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just reiterate that. Okay, are we comfortable with that timeline?
I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Sharon, do you want to add
Yeah.
anything?
No, you covered it.
Okay, okay. Thank you all. Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to go to policy. Emily.
I don't have an update. Scott is working with other staff. Gianna, I know, has been helping with this, and others on updating some of the policies. And when they have like a packet for me to review, I will do so and then update you all.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to board committee reports. And lucky for you, you get to hear me talk again. Because chair's always first. I want to applaud every member of the trustees because each and every one of you is putting in more time and at a higher level than I have witnessed before. We have visits to council. We have showing up at council meetings. We have Emily's policy work. I've been listening to Garrett and what he's planning for governance, which is very exciting. Brent is introducing us to all the right people. And Bill's going to earn his salary 100 times over.
Maybe 1,000. 0.
Trying to figure, which is why I feel comfortable saying that.
Understand.
Trying to figure out how to deal with whatever the city throws at us. So I applaud you. I'm really impressed. And I'm deeply appreciative of all the work everyone's putting in. And it's going to make our library system, it's going to pay off. So thank you. Now I'm going to turn to finance. Bill, you must have something else to tell us.
Actually, I don't have a lot else to say other than everything's running in there. I was pleased, and you saw in the paper with the pictures on it, Scott's comment about the new van. That was a nice bonus from the
really nice.
Yeah, from the city as far as the budget. You know, we've been trying to keep the old one running, and I don't know that it makes enough difference that to even it's not a bump even in the budget, but it's a nice thing. It helps.
Yeah.
Scott's keeping us on track. Like I said, our biggest concerns, are figuring out how we're going to deal with it, and
Right.
and we're looking at that.
Right.
I have to tell you, if you talk to anybody outside of Chris's suggested directions, you bump into somebody and you're talking. The thing that I'm telling people is there is no fat in the library. There just isn't. When you
We're just
look,
we're a little line item. We're less than.
we're a tiny amount in comparison that we dramatically affect the preparation of a certain part of our population for school, okay? And we do that at a bargain compared to some of the other programs that are out there that may not be as effective, or at least are no more effective probably. So I think people need to recognize that. And, you know, people say, oh, we'll cut your overhead. Well, we're pretty much looking at the overhead right now.
Right.
When we look at Jana, Scott, Clay, Cheryl.
Yeah.
You know, that's, there isn't much overhead in the library. You get out of that group and you're people who are working in the field. Yeah, you have a few getting the books to there and so on.
Customer facing,
But
that's
it's
what
all
we want.
right. It's
Yeah.
customer facing, direct customer support. There's just no real room to cut. They've done that to us. So I think you need to, you know, just be aware of that. People always talk about there's fat in government, and I'm probably one who believes that there's often fat in government. I've looked at this budget, and you should recognize Scott runs a really tight ship on the money right now. So, and we're right on budget for the year.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Yeah.
That's pretty much anything I've got there.
So, Scott's budget, which is really helpful, thank you, it's a very short time frame from the time it comes out tomorrow until May 15th when we're ready to go. So if you guys can give me, I don't want to push you, but give me and I will communicate it, you know.
We're
Once you
definitely-
get a sense of scale,
we will do that. and
give me
we'll
a
be working on some
timeline, I will
options and
communicate
things.
it with everyone.
And I'm going to let Chris, once we get some of this to her, decide whether things can be held as far as any action until the next board meeting,
Okay.
or whether
we need to.
we need to start writing things,
Yeah.
communicating things.
Yeah.
And you can probably do that. She may do that with an executive board, quick phone call to say,
Right.
take a vote. I think we
Right.
would all feel comfortable
Yeah.
with Chris making that call with a
Well,
couple of
that,
executive board members.
it's an advantage for us to decide on our fundamentals
It is.
at this meeting.
So we're good with that. That's
But
what I'm
it
saying,
may
Chris.
be, yeah, we may need, thank you, yeah.
But we need to clearly have a message, if not before next month's meeting, coming out of next month's meeting.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I mean, as far as everything,
I
I'd like
think
it
we
before.
need to move
I think
before
we do
that.
too.
I think
Okay,
we
good.
need to move it before
Good.
that.
So you'll have to.
Yeah. Okay, so timeline from you guys as to, depend on what it looks like.
Yeah.
If it's easy, I can figure out what to say, but if it,
I got you.
and then we can wait till April.
Right. And I don't want to give you a
And
date until
since
we
you're
see how
gone,
much.
Sharon, I'll take April too. I'll do the 1-2.
Okay.
And then you do everything else. Okay.
All right.
And Chris, I'd like to tell you the date is how quickly we can do it, but that also depends on the budget.
No, of course. No, of course.
Maybe
of
they'll
course.
make it easy for us. Let's hope.
We don't know. A lot of unknowns. We don't
Okay,
know.
thank you.
Ambivalence is hard. Okay. Any questions for Bill? All right. Janet, facilities.
Well, I handed around the facilities report, which you probably haven't had a chance to look at, but, on a happier note, moving away from budget horrendous.
Well, we don't know that it'll be that bad.
First, I want to thank all the staff who contributed to this. I know Cheryl has, probably Clay, probably Heather, probably all the staff are getting all these numbers together to update our master plan pertaining to the branches. So Scott says he wants to have the report finished by June 30th. Which kind of fits it into the budget cycle, so that's a good thing. And then you can read the progress report there, which is always encouraging to read about all the things that have been done. He included some photos on the back because things are happening at the main library
They are indeed.
that are exciting, and Scott has work for me and Gail in April and May. We're gonna do a minimum of 18 community meetings. Which I read that and that just kind of makes me chuckle, but sure, we'll do that. 2 per location. So what we want to do, we want to have people telling us about our branches, their needs, their thoughts, their opinions. So that can become part of the master plan update. So if you take a minute to look at it and if you have questions, Scott will try to answer them.
Can I ask you to comment on what's going on in the young adult area at Maine and the children's area?
So
Because that's pretty spectacular.
it's pretty spectacular, and I encourage you all to try and get to Maine and take a look. These black and white photos don't do it justice. It was just this week that we were able to install furniture and create an area for young adults. So if you look at the top three black and white pictures on this, the one on the left-hand side is kind of the view into the young adult area, which used to be stack area in kind of the end of the adult section. One of the things that's been important since I've come to the library and since I've worked in libraries is young adults need their own area. They don't want it necessarily next to their brother or sister, their younger brother or sister. They want to have a space that's like theirs, and they don't necessarily want to be in the adult area. And adults get nervous about it because we've got to be able to see what's going on in a young adult area because they can be energetic, because teens are energetic. And so that's something we've worked to achieve, and we've done that with this space. So you'll see kind of a 5 foot tall shelving area around it, which provides an area that's secluded but also open. And then the picture on the right, there's comfortable seating in there. In the far back, there's a digital screen, so we can do interactive programs we can have displays running on that, but we could also have a gaming event back there. So spaces for people to do homework, but also meet with their tutor, so young adults now have that space at the main library, and they didn't have that before. When I got there, the picture to the far right, that's where the young adult space was in the beginning.
Ooh, sad.
And it really wasn't all of that. It was just that little corner back there, and there was a table and some chairs. And so over time, we've grown into where the young adult area is now. So we moved the temporary young adult area from the other side of the library to this spot, and that freed up a space to create an early learning activity area. And so the lower pictures, that is a picture of Beth and Genevieve starting to install the interactive children's educational tools that are there. So there's touchable boards that they can move that'll be mounted on the wall. There's softer surfaces that they can, like big blocks or things that they can play with and move around. There'll be some things that almost like educational toys in the space. So there's the first picture is on the right, and you'll see these little partitions. So they too will have a little bit of privacy and kind of corral them. So if you're ever dealing with a couple toddlers, you know they're really fast. So if you can put some hurdles in their way, you'll slow them down a little bit.
You know that.
Yeah,
They're very fast.
yeah, they're very fast. So
You're gonna trip
kind
them
of
off.
it kind of no, it just so these are like little portable walls they can run into, but they won't. They're actually made of felt. They're really kind of a cool material. They're real thick felt, and they can dampen noise. But also, if they fall over, they get crashed. That's okay too. And then to the far right, the next picture is where we're going to be putting these. Those are giant Legos. So we have a giant Lego blocks. We got the Lego blocks that are toddler design, so you can't swallow them. And then we have the regular Lego. So we're going to have a Lego area. So this will be for those post-toddler school, maybe not like third and fourth graders level. So we'll have some spaces now that are for different age groups at the main library. I think this will also proof that we need more spaces like this across the system.
Yeah.
We would love to have something like that here at East End. We have no space. So I think I'm grateful to all of the work Beth has done. She's been amazing, and her team have been amazing with coming up with the things to put in this early learning activity center. They've acquired it over time, and we're making it happen. So there'll be things in here that we can promote and do that we weren't able to do before. If you look at this space, we now have lots of color in the space. When I arrived in 17, it was beige carpet. It was 1975 institutional color. So the whole team has come together. Cheryl has worked her tail off with this project, both the young adult
Cheryl.
project and the early learning activity center, coordinating painters and carpet layers and just finding vendors to arrive on site and making that all happen. So it's really been a collaborative team effort, and it's going to pay off. I think this will be the start of making a destination a lot bigger
Yeah,
for our main library.
yeah.
And I would be remiss if I don't talk about Ginter Park. That is our biggest stormwater project rolling out. Broad Rock was big, but Ginter Park is going to have lots of other features. They had a little bit more space, a little more open area around the library, so they're able to do more. So phase 1 of that one was completed last week. They've gotten a lot of planting in. Phase 2 will be more, hopefully a pergola and some benches and more interactive outdoor spaces that will be created, and also permeable pavers. So on Westbrook, there's an entrance on Westbrook, and right now that's concrete. So we're going to be installing permeable pavers, which will slow the rainwater coming off the building. Right now there's concrete, and that just siphons into the street and then goes into the James. So it'll be a nice demonstration project of how that will work. We are in design phase of Belmont and Hull Street. James River Association has led lots of community meetings where we've gotten feedback from the community on what they'd like to see. Yesterday we reviewed with streets some of the changes we wanted to do at Belmont. So we wanted, Belmont is right on the street, so we're going to be able to adapt some of there's very little landscaping we can work with, but there are things that we can do, and it may require shifting the bus stop down or opening up parts of sidewalk to add tree well. So we need to have a conversation with the city and the street department to figure out what we could do. We really wanted to, one of the things that came out at Belmont was, how can we shorten the distance between the curb in front of the library on Belmont to the curb on the other side of Elwood. It's almost like 4 lanes. And if you're a pedestrian, if you ever try and cross the street to go from Belmont to Carytown, it's quite a little run. And one of the things that the city does is they do pop-outs. They do like a curb outlet. And we can't really do it on the Belmont side of the street because there's a bus stop. The bus wants to kind of charge in there and park. But we may be able to do it on the other side of the street on Elwood. So that would shorten the distance probably by like 10 feet. I don't know, I think a lane is like 10 feet. And so that would definitely improve safety across Elwood at Belmont there. So it's been I believe that will return some really nice dividends for the community. It will make Belmont a lot better. Hull Street also, we're looking at creating a kind of another little interactive outdoor area where between the parking lot and the entrance. Again, we're working with a very tight space there, and there's limits to what we can do. But we have some clever ideas. We may eliminate some parking, but that would add just a little bit more green space to the area, which is something that is desperately needed, I think, on the Hull Street corridor. If you walk up and down the Hull Street corridor, yeah. So it's exciting what's been happening with that partnership, and the van replacement, getting rid of a 15-year-old van. I think Cheryl just wore them out in clean because they didn't want to fix the doors that were falling off the van. So they were able to find a solution, and fingers crossed, I'll believe it when the van is parked in the back. But our delivery person, it will very much streamline things. So we're going to get one of those taller vans. At least we got that. So that will allow us to probably pack more in the van, but also facilitate easier delivery and pickup. Because we run a delivery every day.
Yeah.
So if you request a book on Friday, you could have it at your branch library on a Saturday or a Sunday, because we have that much movement of books in circulation. That's another thing that's facilitating circulation is you can request a book and we'll get it to you as fast as we can. And that daily delivery, I know it's one of those invisible things, but it's a logistical piece that keeps our collection, our materials moving. So that's taken a lot of work. It's taken us a few years to get that kind of all the kinks worked out of it and getting it working and the right manpower load on it. So having a vehicle that can deliver it is reliable will make a huge difference. So those are the big things that have been happening with facilities and grounds, and we're just going to keep rolling.
Okay. Questions for Scott or Janet on facilities?
That's great.
Okay. Garrett isn't here. I've had several conversations and a Zoom call with him. I think you're going to be really delighted when you hear about his plans for governance going into the future. But I'm going to let him be the star of that show when he comes in. Unfinished business. I forgot to thank the people at East End for hosting us. I like this library. It's very nice to be here. So thank you, East End team. Any other unfinished business we want to talk about?
I apologize, Adam wasn't here to give his report. He's on vacation. So next time you come, he'll give an even more spectacular report.
Well, we'll get him. He doesn't have to. We'll make him travel to wherever we are, and
That'd be good.
and we want to make sure that all of the community managers know that we care about what they're doing, and the way they know is if we listen to them educate us. So we're gonna we got to get the Belmont, Haley, and we got to get them all because they need to know we need to be educated and that we care about what they do. And then we have all of the other people that we want to hear from. So we'll look forward to that. New business.
I want to say kudos to the young adult coordinator and the efforts, in this article that she's been putting forth, and I'm seeing some numbers, and with the new space, that's a generation we can't afford to lose, so I applaud her efforts and keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Anything else? Okay, our next meeting is April 23rd. It's going to be at North Avenue. And unless we have anything to say, I'd say well done. See you in April. But you'll hear from me beforehand. Okay?
Thanks, Chris.